What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. Now, recently, I made a video talking all about how I think Boruto has to make the ultimate choice between whether he saves Konohamaru, his brother figure and first teacher, or does he go and save Sarda and Mitsuki. Now, while I do think he's going to make that choice, I do think that there's potentially another wrinkle that could essentially prevent Boruto from making that choice. And ultimately, he still loses the person that he was trying to save. Think of it kind of like the scene in Dark Knight where Batman has to make a choice, but he still loses the person that he cares for in the end. Even though that they went to go save the other person, they still lose that other person. Essentially like that. So what I think it's going to be is, I think that when Boruto goes to make his choice, it doesn't matter because Momoshiki is going to take over and prevent Boruto from protecting and saving who he wants to save. So think of it like this: Boruto has essentially been he's essentially had to defy Koji in order to do this, right? So he's finally going out there to save who he wants to save. Like Jura be damned, he doesn't care about Jura anymore. All he cares about is wanting to save who he's chosen to save. That could be either be Konohamaru or that could be Sarda and Mitsuki. It doesn't matter who. He's chosen to go save them regardless of what happens to the state of the world. And naturally, because he's not thinking about the state of the world here, he's not factoring in Momoshiki potentially taking over and throwing a wrench in that plan. And that's what I think has the potential to happen here. See, Momoshiki is a character that I've been talking about now for quite a while on this channel. You go through the catalog, I've pretty much been talking about Momoshiki and his role in Two Blue Vortex since Two Blue Vortex started. I always keep thinking like this is when Momoshiki is going to come back into the story, and he never does. But I do think this is like a really good opportunity for Momoshiki to come back into the story because he can serve as a barrier for Boruto saving who he wants to save. Like, I honestly think that would be a really cool way to use Momoshiki because it's two sides of the same coin again. Like, it's Boruto on one side of the coin wanting to protect everyone, but then it's Momoshiki on the other side of the coin who just wants to take over Boruto. And I think he still wants to ruin his life. He still wants his life to be ruined so that way Boruto crawls back into the deep recesses of his mind and lets Momoshiki take over. Momoshiki thought he was going to get that in part one, but maybe Momoshiki now thinks that if he can take over Boruto when he goes to save Konohamaru or someone like that, if he can take him over right before he can actually save him, then that could be where Boruto loses it all. That's where Boruto loses himself. That's where Boruto gives up on everything because he thought he had the power to save his master, his first master, but but Momoshiki, a factor that he wasn't factoring in for so long, is the reason why like he loses that part of himself. He loses that connective tissue to his old life. He loses that brother figure. He loses the person that was so important to his father. He loses that piece. Once Boruto loses Konohamaru, and especially if he loses it at the hands of Momoshiki, someone he could have pushed back, Boruto, I feel like, has that's when Boruto has the most potential to give himself over to Momoshiki, because you got to remember Boruto doesn't really have anyone left except Koji to really like pull him back. Like, sure, Sarda and Sumire can help somewhat, but the reason why Boruto didn't really give in to Momoshiki back in part one is because he had Sasuke. He had that connective tissue to his old life that could help him. But at this point, Sarda can't really do anything because if Sarda does anything, she's going to lose her standing in the village. Sumire can't do anything. Shikamaru, if he does anything, he's probably going to get like executed or something by the elders. Like Boruto, it seems like has allies, but he really doesn't have anyone that can fight by his side without losing everything. That's why Sasuke was so important to him. Sasuke didn't care. Sasuke was like, I've been on the run before. I'll do it again. Like that's and like I'll do this all for you because my daughter sees something in you. Now Boruto won't have that. So if Momoshiki takes over, and Momoshiki is the reason why he loses Konohamaru, that's going to be it. But Boruto might essentially just give up mentally for a little bit, and that is where Momoshiki will reestablish control. And honestly, it could be like the Momoshiki show for a little bit because we don't know how strong Momoshiki's gotten during the time skip. We don't know. Momoshiki has essentially been a non-factor. All we know about Momoshiki is that when Boruto's karma started activating, he got very scared. So we know that Momoshiki has been a factor in during the 3 year time period that we didn't see, because I'm pretty sure Boruto also mentioned that Momoshiki tried to take over during the 3 year time skip. So we do know that Momoshiki's still a factor. We just haven't seen him in Two Blue Vortex because Boruto has been so mentally strong. But once Boruto loses those mental fortitudes, that's when Momoshiki can start crawling back, trying to fight for control of Boruto. And honestly, the more Boruto loses, if Boruto keeps losing people, if he loses Konohamaru, if he loses Himawari, if he loses more people that are important to him, those mental fortitudes start to crumble away. Like they'll just get pulled apart one by one. And that's when Momoshiki has the potential to strike. So Momoshiki, to pretty much to wrap all this up, just wrap it all up right here. Momoshiki, I feel, has the most potential to show up next chapter. First of all, because of Boruto's mental fortitudes, like I was talking about before, and if Konohamaru dies, that's it. But we got to remember, overall, this is the 100th chapter of Boruto that's ever been released. It's going to be a crazy chapter, no matter what. So I do think that we're going to see quite possibly a death to ring in chapter 100, where I think that's going to be Konohamaru, but I think Momoshiki might take over during that chapter because of the loss that Boruto will feel in that moment. Like Boruto, that will be when Boruto. That will be like when you see low-key kid Boruto come back to the surface. Like if he loses Konohamaru, that is huge for him as a character. Like that was one of the most important people in his life, because you got to remember, like I've said before, Boruto hasn't really lost a master figure yet. Like the student always loses the master in stories like this, but he hasn't really lost that. Sure, people can say Sasuke, but Sasuke's in the tree. You can get him out. If he loses Konohamaru, Konohamaru dies. That's him losing his master. That was his first master. That was his first teacher. He loses him. That's gonna be big for Boruto's development, and that's when Momoshiki can strike and take over for who knows how long. He could take over for a couple chapters. I have no idea. The future is bright for Boruto, and chapter 100 is about to change everything, I think. But I think that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you guys think that with Boruto's choice coming up, do you guys think that Momoshiki can essentially manifest to put a stop to it? Or do you guys think that Momoshiki probably isn't going to show up till near the end of the story? Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm going to talk to you guys next time. Bye.